Now we get on to the rimming of the basket. So this is what puts a finish on it. If this was a bigger basket, it would put the sturdiness to it. For this basket, we're using 1/2-inch flat reed, and I can work with this dry on this one. It just, if you have it wet, it has a tendency to get marks in it from the clothespins or from the twist ties that we're going to use. So I tend to work with it dry, and I'm going to put the rough side, this is the outside rim. And if you'll notice, this rim is 1/2-inch flat. This rim is 3/8 flat, or the rim row is 3/8 inch flat. So that little bit of space is going to get taken up with this filler. And you'll see that in just a second. So the rim is always a little bit bigger than the rim row. So we keep that in mind as we're putting the basket together. So I'm going to just put a clothespin on here and work my way around. I've got the rough side to the inside of the basket so that the good side is sticking out. And I'm just going to work my way around with a couple of clothespins on it. And when I get back to the beginning, I'm going to overlap just a couple of inches from here to here so I can cut this piece off. Put a clothespin here. So now I'm going to go to the inside of the basket. And here I want, again, the rough side to the inside of the basket. But I'm going to have my one overlap here, and my inside overlap is going to be right next to it. Not necessarily touching, but just a little bit next to it so that they don't overlap, but it just makes it a little easier when we actually get to the lashing part. So I'm going to put this one on. Again, the rough side is to the inside of the basket. And when I get back to the beginning, I'm going to give that a several inch overlap as well. So I'm going to cut it off from here to here. Now, this is called seagrass. It's just a twisted grass, and it goes in here as a rim filler so that it hides all the ugly stuff from when we were cutting and tucking. And it's just going to sit in there and take up that space. If it sits above it a little bit, that's not a problem. You know, so it should sit, sometimes it sits right in it, sometimes it just needs to be outside of it just a little bit, no big deal either way. So when I get back to the beginning, for right now, I'm going to leave this a little bit of an overlap too. And when we get back around later as we're lashing, we can cut that so that they butt, so that one end butts to the other, but I don't know where the lashing is going to be, so I want to leave that till later. So one other thing that I can do to make my lashing easier is to use some zip ties. And typically, at least my zip ties, these guys have a little point that goes up. So I'm going to put that point. Now here's where here's one overlap, here's the other overlap. So I'm going to start somewhere beyond that. And I might need my awl here again. And I'm going to put the zip tie underneath, underneath the rim row and above my last row of weaving. I don't want it down here somewhere. I want it right in this spot. I'm going to zip it together. Then I'm going to go about a hand width away. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go above this row of weaving and underneath the rim row. I'm going to put the zip tie in it. So this is just holding my little rim sandwich together until I can get to lashing it. Don't need the clothespins this way. And put this in. Now these zip ties are only going to stay on here for a couple minutes. That's all their job is. So, but it's an important one, and it really does make it easier to lash the whole rim. What I'm doing as I'm putting these zip ties in is getting the extra slack out of the rim. So by the time I get back to the beginning again, it should be nice and tight, and then when I lash it, it's really easy. Oops. So see, I got all that slack out of it. So now I'm just going to take this and tighten it up. I'm going to put a zip tie right here. And then one more right where the ending overlap is. And for right now, I'm going to catch that piece of seagrass in it just so it's out of my way a little bit. Okay.